So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I grab my phone. Bleary-eyed, I begin to scroll through the headlines so I can find out what I missed on the 24-hour news cycle while I was sleeping. I am immediately met with death, despair, and destruction. Not exactly the most ideal way to start your day, but that's the way I start my day every day. This ritual is interrupted every morning by screams. Those screams come from the room right next to me, and they sound just like this: "Mommy!" And I have to put my death, despair, and destruction away. I can't think about it at that moment because I have a very important battle to fight. The battle to convince my 6-year-old that she must wear her school uniform every day. This balance between the world and our world is a challenge, and it's a challenge that I face. When we look at the world with open eyes to see life's atrocities, so we can be an active agent of change to make the world a better place, and knowing when we have to close our eyes so we can focus inward, gain some sanity, so we can be a better parent or friend. This is a challenge that I have, and I'm sure other people do as well. I'm an artist, and in my work, I process the world around me. I reflect my community and the people that I spend time with. This is a collage that I did of a young man around my age who lived in Florence on the streets. His name is Jimmy, and about 3 months after I did this collage, he died in his sleep on the streets of Florence, leaving behind a wife and children. Sometimes my artwork is a little closer to home, and I paint some of you. This is part of a new series that I'm working on. It's called the Closed Eyes series, for obvious reasons. Aside from the portrait, in the background, barely visible, are children that are sleeping on the streets. This series that I'm working on is helping me process my world and try to understand that balance. You know, making art to process the world around us is not a new idea. Humans have been making art for 40,000 years. Cave paintings. Cavemen were processing the world around them. And art hasn't changed that much in 40,000 years because they were doing the same thing that I'm doing. They are reflecting on the past to understand what needs to happen in the future. Because art is a unique tool for us to understand not only culture, but where we fit into that culture. It's a starting point for a conversation. This conversation can be happening with words, or it can just be a visual communication. It's a great platform to open up challenging dialogue that you can enter in through multiple avenues. But in order to have those conversations, you need to share your artwork. And it may be in an art exhibition, or with just a few taps of your finger on a phone, you can have an international audience for your artwork. It's a very unique time that we live in when you can instantly get feedback from around the world. This kind of presence of social media can be a unique platform for art because art can inspire people to act. And you may not even know it. Art has the platform to also challenge cultural narratives, to make us reassess and challenge our deepest assumptions. It can shift imagery and allow us to see the world through a different lens, through the eyes of the artist and shift perspective. Now, this is another work from the Closed Eye series, obviously. I'm creating these works for myself so I can process my world. But in turn, I hope that by sharing it, perhaps conversations could start. Because unlike other forms of traditional outreach, art inspires emotions. And with emotions, people get involved. Okay? Because I really believe that when you look closer at a picture, you see that it's not just closed eyes. But when you look closer, you can see that there's open eyes too, because we cannot live our lives with just closed eyes. We have to have that balance. Now you might say, well, that's all well and good, but I'm not an artist. I can't even draw a stick figure. Well, don't worry about that. Some of you might be aware of the street artist from the 1980s, Keith Haring. He was known for creating works that changed a dialogue, changed the way people thought about social issues. Keith Haring is a street artist that did all of that with stick figures. But if art is not your method of communication, you could be the viewer, you can be on the receiving end. You can be the one that can be inspired to create change. Or you can find your own method of expression. We have this amazing exhibition in Florence right now at Palazzo Strozzi. The cultural activist and social activist Ai Weiwei is examining how we reflect on the past so we can change things for the future. And he says, be involved, speak your mind clearly, and let your voice be heard. I love that quote. But for me, that translates into be involved, make art, let your voice be heard. Thank you.